Okay, I apologize. There was an issue with my audio when I recorded this, so I'm going to go ahead and do a voiceover. So here are all the tools that we're going to need. I have my artwork, I have my frame, and all the rest of the tools. You'll need a ruler, a pencil, a screwdriver, scissors or wire cutters. I have the wire. And then we have offsets, and you'll see how these go on in a minute. So I'm using 1/4 of an inch offsets for this video. That's what my frame requires with this artwork. I do also keep 1/8 of an inch offsets on hand. Now what they're used for is for securing the artwork onto the frame. So depending on how big the rabbit is, and I'll show you the rabbit in a second, the rabbit is basically the depth of the back of the board. So the bigger the rabbit, depending on what size your artwork is, so if it's smaller, you're going to need a bigger offset. So that's why I'm using the 1/4 of an inch for this frame. But if it's a smaller rabbit and the artwork fits more securely and there's not as much excess on the back, then you can use a 1/8 of an inch or a smaller offset. And then we also have D-rings for the wire. And the offsets and the D-rings should both come with screws. Most packages that you buy usually come with screws, so those should be in there. And you can buy these from Michael's, Home Depot, Amazon. I just bought this big pack of D-rings from Amazon. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure where I'm going to put the offsets on the back of the frame. You can really put them wherever you'd like, as long as they're going to be secure, as long as they're going to make the artwork nice and tight and secure. I usually like to put 2 on the sides and 1 on the bottom. You can put them on all 4 sides if you'd like. I'm just going to put 2 on the sides and 1 on the bottom. And I typically like to go in the middle. For the side ones, I like to go more into the middle or closer to the top. For this one, I'm probably going to go about 5.5 inches down. I'm going to mark it with the pencil where I'm going to put the screw for the offset. And I made a mistake here, and I realize it in a second. I'll just have to move the ruler back up to the top where I measured the other side. Okay, so also 5.5 inches down from the top. Sorry, my hair got in the way there. Okay, and then the bottom, I'm going to go around the 4.5 inch mark. Okay, so now I have all the marks for where the offsets are going to go, and I'm going to go ahead and put the artwork in. Now for this piece, I am not going to be using glass. For the scratchboard art, you can frame it with or without the glass. I do varnish all of my pieces. There are some pieces that I might choose to put the glass on depending on where it's going to be displayed. If you are going to use glass, I do recommend the museum anti-glare or non-reflective glass. It looks much better with scratchboard. But otherwise, you can definitely frame the scratchboard piece without the glass. And it should still stay protected. Okay. And and I was just mentioning there that if you did use the glass, it's going to make it a lot thicker. So you're going to have the glass and you're going to have the scratchboard. So you'll probably end up having to use smaller offsets. Now it can be a bit tricky to get the screws to initially catch, but once you do get them to catch, they usually screw in pretty easily. And it really depends also on what kind of wood it is. There are some woods that are easier to screw into than others. If you need to, you can also use a drill minimally and very slowly to just start the hole and pull it back out. Just don't go too far, just so you can start the hole, and then you can screw it in with a screwdriver the rest of the way. So we're just screwing onto the wood piece. We are not screwing or putting any screws onto the actual art itself. Okay, so I'm going to do that on both sides here. Okay, it's going in there. And these ones you do want to make very tight so the artwork is nice and secure to the back. That one's in. Go and tighten that other side up a little bit more. Okay, now we'll do the bottom offset. Now, this technique also doesn't just go for scratchboard art. This goes for any art that might be a bit too thick in order for you to put the backing board that comes with the frame on. Such as, like, sometimes this happens when I have watercolor pieces in which I want to double mat them. They might be too thick for me to put the framing backing board on, so I just have to use offsets to secure it to the frame. All right, so the offsets are on. Now we're going to go ahead and put the D-rings for the wiring. These I like to put just a few inches down from the top. It's really your preference on where you want it to hang. For this one, I'm just going to go ahead and go about 3 inches down from the top. And I'll make my mark where the screw is going to go. And my preference for the D-rings is not to have them screwed in super, super tight. This way that the D-ring can kind of move around with the wire. You can definitely have it tight where the wire will be fully taut, but I like to have it where it just kind of flows a little bit with the wire. Loosen it just a bit, and yeah, there we go. Just where it has a little bit of wiggle room. And we'll do the same thing with the other side. So if you're wondering about why I don't put the offset on the top, there's really no reason besides the fact that I'm just kind of saving one more offset, and the piece is securely positioned on this frame, so it would not fall off the top or out of the top, and it will also be hanging, with that on the upside anyway. So, but it's not going to fall out of there. The offset should be securely fastened to the artwork. If there's still room and you use one of the bigger offsets, you can also use an acid-free foam board or backing board to kind of build up some more room in order to make the offset fit exactly to the piece. Great, so now we have both D-rings on and we can go ahead and put the wire. You don't have to use very much excess. The wire is strong, so it will hold. You can just kind of go off of the weight of your piece and where you think it's going to be hung. You can adjust this as you go, or at any time you can just make adjustments to this. So I'm just going to leave either an inch or less of excess wire, just wrapping it around. And I like to make sure that the wire is not going to be visible when it's hung, so I pull it taut enough to where you won't be able to see the wire. Take your wire cutters or your scissors, and you can cut the wire. And again, wrap the excess around the other side. All right, and now our piece is finished. It is ready to be hung on the wall. It is nice and secure, and the artwork is not wiggling around inside. And we are good to hang it.